Good day, Bob here at Weldnrust, and I know it's been a while since the last video, but as you can see, well, you might not be able to see, but I'll kind of show you. I've been working on the back of my house. So that has been taking priority. And since I'm not a big fan of renovations, well, anyways, I'd like to introduce you to my latest brand of crazy. You can thank my son for this one, for getting me kind of tuned on to e-bikes. So being the old man, I have to kind of show the kid how to really do it and actually do it so you're not spending a ton of money. So what I ended up doing was picking up one of these. This is an Emo e-bike, and I got it for a really good deal. And the reason I got it is because it has all the parts I need. So I'm not buying a whole bunch of parts, spending a ton of money on them. So having gotten this and figured, okay, now I'm going to start building a bike is what my plan was. And I was just going to use this as a donor. But since this has been so much fun to play with, and I really hate cutting up good things, I figured I'd find some more junky stuff to work with. So on to the next. This is going to be the first donor, and that's a Yamaha Virago. It's got a nice long front end for a chopper, and look at that. No fork tubes, which means I can kind of build what I want in there to try to fit whatever battery box I need to put into it. So after I get this, I realize I need some more parts, so on to the next one. That is my little pile of parts I picked up. It used to be an XJ, and I just cut up the frame because I wanted to salvage the neck on it. And I got it because it had better fork tubes. It had some better shocks in it, but they're in the box right now. And it's got a better front tire. So, and then what happens? Something else comes up, which finds me to this one. Now, this has already been kind of disassembled. And what I did, and I'll show you later in the video where I tested the components, to find out that actually I got a good motor in this thing, controller. The only thing I'm going to need is battery. That's later on down the road. But because I got this thing stupid cheap, and part of the deal was getting this thing. This I'm going to use basically for parts. And it's got some prettier master cylinders on it and a few other bits and pieces. I already stole the taillight off of it. So as you can see, what are we at now with bikes to try and build a bike? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. Hence my little brand of crazy. I'm hoping out of the 4, not the 5, I'll be able to make one good bike. So that is the plan. The score on this one. If you run into one of these trashed garbage, who knows? If you pay a little for it, you're going to get your money out of your with parts. Not a big deal. But here's the question is, how do you check for parts? Oh, by the way, there was a bunch of plastic on here, and that's sitting outside right now. Anyways, so now let's do some checks. One of the things I want to find out, value-wise, most of the parts are relatively cheap, with the exception of the motor. Okay, and the motor's in the hub. But there's going to be some checks, and I want to go through it with you so you kind of have an idea of what you might be up against. So the way we check the motor is, as you can see, if it spins freely. Now if I take 2 of the 3 wires, connect them together, it's like, now all of a sudden I got resistance, and you can almost feel the clunky, clicky, tick, 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 tick when it's trying to move. Okay, you can feel it. Now, you do this for all 3. 2 of the 3, and the other 2. Feel the click. And then you put all 3 together, and you should feel even more resistance, and it should be really hard to turn. Okay, that tells me it's a good motor. Okay, so now comes the fun part. I got real lucky with this one because the wires are in English. And they tell me what wires do what. Most of the time, you may not be, they could be in Chinese, which is the common language, if you can translate that, or they're just numbers. So the hardest part is trying to figure out what it is, but you only need to know a few of them, okay? One of them here, what they call the hall sensors. There's 3 little wires, usually yellow, green, and blue, and then black and red. And this control, if your controller has hall sensors, you need to have a motor with hall sensors. In this case, because it's a complete kit, it's matched, I don't have to worry about that. But if you're mixing and matching, it's important to note. Hall sensors input, you need to have hall sensors on your motor. If there's no hall sensor input, then the motor doesn't care. You don't have to worry about it. But, okay, so we got this coming from our motor. We'll put that aside. We got these wires that go to the motor. You got a red positive coming in, which is 72 volts in this case. And let's see. The other thing we need to hook up is the 3-speed. Now, the 3-speed is this little switch on the handlebar. That just sets the 1, 2, 3, and that's basically your governor system. Okay. The other one we have to deal with is the throttle. Again, 3 wires, a red and a black usually, and then some other color. In this case, it's green. It could be white. It could be who knows what. And that is for our throttle control. Okay. So I got those wires hooked up, hall sensor hooked up. The other thing we're going to need to make this work is the power line coming in. And it can usually on these, it's yellow. Let's see if I can find it. Nope, that's not yellow. It's another one. This says on it power, and it's actually red coming in. You need to power the controller to make it work. So what I've done is you'll notice something, the connections need to be solid. Oh, by the way, while I'm on the topic, don't do what this guy did and how he made his connections. All right. So yeah, that's not going to work so good. So temporary connections, they need to be solid, but more importantly, I taped them to make sure nothing's going to short on me. Okay. I found an old switch on off, and I also found a little breaker, and it was in my stuff. This is why I hoard stuff. This is an 8.5 amp breaker. It'll be fine for testing purposes. Now, testing purposes. I've got a 72 volt charger. The charger will not work without a battery in the system. Okay, it needs to sense some voltage going onto it, so that won't work. So I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to test this thing? Well, here's it comes an advantage when I already have an Emmo with 72 volt battery. Now, the interesting thing is when you charge it, it plugs into the battery directly. So I'm scratching my head. How am I going to I don't want to take the batteries out. So I had one of these little flashes of insight. This used to be a computer cord. They make these. They're almost cheap, free. The only issue is mine had one of these terminals turned, but you only need the 2 terminals. Okay, positive and negative. And important to get this right, otherwise you can fry things. But what I did was I used this part of the computer cord, had to cut a notch in it, and this will fit into my bike. So I can tap off the 72 volts. What I also did was I used this plug-in, and I found one of these. All this is a household outlet. So I can use these terminals. We don't bother with the ground. That plugs in, and I can now tap 72 volts off. Remember, this is just for testing purposes if you don't even know if this is going to work or not. Okay, so I now have power switch. So I got my positive going to my main lead. This is why I have the breaker on here. Now, for testing purposes, you cannot have any load on the wheel. You notice this is up in the air free. So when I plugged it in, turned on the switch, and gave her a little bit of throttle, the wheel spun. I know everything works. Saves me, I'm not going to say a small fortune because these things are relatively cheap. Like controllers, I've seen as low as 25 bucks. Throttles, $7. Head units, maybe another 20 bucks. I haven't checked it out yet, but I'm not even that worried about it. Even these ones are like 12 bucks. So the rest of the components are relatively cheap. That's your expensive one right there. So if that's usable, great. Same as the front brakes. A lot of these parts are going to be usable. I think I've got enough parts now to actually start on the bike, but you're just going to have to wait that. Oh, one other thing I want to show you. Come here with me. That someone had made a lithium battery. I'm not even going to attempt to do it. I don't even know if I want to keep it in the garage. It's starting to rust. These things have been known to cause fires. It's 0 volts on it, so I'm okay with it. And it's been probably sitting outside for who knows how long. Anyways, I won't attempt to use this one. I'll just spend the money on a new battery. So that's going to be the other biggest. That's one of the reasons why these things can get so cheap is when the batteries go, that's the base expense for fixing them and guys don't want to bother. So anyways, final test. And this one is plugged in. I have a weird little switch. And since we already determined that the motor works, controller works, I want to find out if that head unit works. So, all right. Sorry for the shaky, but holding a camera and doing this at the same time is kind of tricky. Here's the pop. And look at that. Sorry for the glare. Head unit kind of works. Now here's our new test. We give it some juice. You see the back wheel spinning? My first thought when I was doing this, give it a little more juice. Oh sure, make a liar out of me now. Because when I tested it earlier, it was, oh, there we go. There we go. It's registering something. Okay. That passed inspection. That passed inspection. We are good. And even the brake light's on. Woohoo! Now, I guess this means this unit is now ready to be stripped down. You'll have to wait for the next one to see what we do next.